The historic Rexmere Hotel burns to the ground. Researchers still searching for more than 200 people missing through a mile of debris in Washington. Action News at 11, right after Mega Millions. Good evening, I'm Dave Graber. What's being described as the centerpiece of a Stamford went up in flames this afternoon, taking with it more than 100 years of community history. 300 firefighters from more than 10 departments were called after fire broke out around 11:30 this morning at the site of the historic Rexmere Hotel. The more than 100-year-old building was empty at the time. The crews say the fire started on the ground floor, but quickly traveled up 7 stories, engulfing the entire building in flames. Trustees of the Catskills Mountain Educational Center say they are saddened about the loss, saying that it was once referred to as the Queen of the Catskills, one of the last bastions of the golden era of the early and middle 20th century.
Such an important piece of history just vanished today.
This is where many weddings have been. This is where the summer concerts are and the fireworks where people gather. Just as they did back in the 1880s, they would gather in front on blankets and watch the fireworks.
More than 10 companies responded to that fire, including crews from as far as Schoharie and Otsego counties. The investigation into what caused that fire could take several days. Well, it took far fewer crews from far fewer departments to battle a house fire today in the town of Shenango, but it was the same result. No one was inside the home at 794 Castle Creek Road when the fire started at around 11 this morning. Shortly after crews responded to the scene, part of the burning house collapsed, and what are believed to be oxygen tanks that were inside exploded, and that forced firefighters to fight the blaze from the outside.
Everything that I had for work and everything was in that cellar. They lost a lot. I lost a lot. There's nothing you can really do about it right now.
Now, no people were injured in the fire, but a dog and a cat weren't able to make it out of the burning home. Broome County fire investigators still looking into what caused that fire. 2 dogs shot and killed. They were found in a ditch on Friday night. The owners of those dogs spent the past month looking for them. The Mahoney family said their huskies, Coda and Mush, went missing on February 9th. The next weeks were spent driving endless miles and making phone calls to try to find their pets. The Delaware County Sheriff's Office says the investigation into how the dogs ended up there shot. And if a suspect is found, charges could range there from animal cruelty to gun-related crimes. Although the family has some answers at this point, they're still left wondering not only who killed their pets, but why.
How do you kill somebody's family member? My kid. How do you look them in the face and shoot them?
The Mahoney family started a Facebook page in support of finding the person who brutally shot their dogs. For more information on Coda and Mush, just head over to our website, WBNG.com. An Endwell man arrested for making methamphetamine amongst explosives in his home will spend the next 3 years in prison. 23-year-old Jeffrey Blanc pleaded guilty to criminal possession of a controlled substance and criminal possession of a weapon today. In Broome County Court this morning, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison and 2 years of probation. Now, the sentences will be served at the same time for both of those charges. Blanc, if you recall, was a wanted man out of Illinois. He was captured in October after a search of his home at 3410 Luther Street in Endwell turned him up. There were explosives that were found in the home, and deputies found byproducts used to make methamphetamine. Local superintendents say their districts are financially strapped with not enough money coming from the state to do their jobs effectively, or at least free from steep cuts. But how do these school districts go about making a budget with their backs against the wall? Our Perry Russell has more.
Dave, Union Endicott Superintendent Suzanne McLeod says it's been demoralizing having to plan to cut school programs that were added just last year. If the state aid coming to UE stays where it is right now, the district will have to cut $500,000 worth of programs they added for this school year. But it hasn't just been UE being forced to make some of these tough decisions. The ME and Owego-Appalachian school districts say they're financially stressed too.
You kind of put aside the things that you would love to keep or that you would love to add, but it's all dependent on what the revenue picture looks like.
But I hope that people realize that we really are trying to be responsible financially in times where it's very difficult.
Van Fossen, who you just heard from, is the superintendent at ME. He says his district is in the best situation they have been in the past few years after delicately balancing cuts across the district without gutting one specific program. He says they're trying to spread out some of the reductions. He says when students' favorite teachers have to be let go strictly because of budgetary reasons, the students and the parents feel that loss. Van Fossen says while his district is seeing an increase in state aid, it's not where the district wants or hopes it to be. Dave Emmy is planning to see a 0.9% increase in state aid in their budget.
And that's one of the areas where they say it's just not enough. We will continue to cover that issue all the way through the next couple of months. Perry, thanks very much. Well, in downtown Binghamton, it will be a little bit brighter and bolder thanks to the hands of a world-renowned artist from the opposite coast. The artist, named One Man, will be painting 4 massive murals in the city in May. Tonight, he met with more than 100 students and residents about the importance of such artwork and how it can bring communities together. Now, he's not yet sure what he'll be painting, but he says he saw some great ideas tonight from the community.
I'm just kind of like talking to people, getting their stories, interacting, and then also just visually seeing the space and seeing the town and the buildings and all that. So I don't have any preconceived notions of what I'm going to paint or that kind of thing. I want it to really come from the people.
Students and residents painted artwork before and after the presentation. They were supposed to show what home looks like to them, and then they were handing it off as ideas. Man 1 is expected to begin his painting on or around May 17th.
2 weather features. I'll have your colder storm tracker forecast coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Brian, thanks. So to come here on Action News, many people try to keep their shoes clean, right? But, well, some kids in New York City, they're trying to make theirs the nastiest in the country, all to win a contest. Yikes. Plus,
there's a mudslide and everything's gone. The houses are gone.
16 people confirmed dead this evening, hundreds still missing in the Washington mudslide. We'll have the latest when Action News at 11 returns. The official death toll from this weekend's mudslide in Washington state now stands at 16, but that number will rise. Today, search and rescue crews battled heavy rains and the clock to reach the scores of people who are still reported missing. CBS's Terry Okita is near the scene and has the latest.
2 more bodies were recovered from the mud and debris where a mudslide tore through a small Washington state town. And authorities say there is more grim work ahead.
We've located another 8 fatalities. However, we have not recovered those at this time.
Scores of people remain missing, but exactly how many is not yet known. Restored electricity and internet service to nearby Darrington are helping families reconnect with loved ones, but that's not slowing down the search.
We're going at this hard to get everybody that's out there that's missing.
But it's not just professional rescue crews who are out searching. Dozens of volunteers showed up this morning at the fire department, eager to help out any way they could. That's because this isn't a community of strangers.
Up and over the creek, up and over the first part of debris, and bam, there was the first body.
To Aaron Bright, it's family. He's out there looking for his cousin, Summer Raffo. She was driving through Oso, Washington, when the hillside gave way. He says everywhere he looks, there's heartache.
Hardest part is to see kids out there digging up their parents.
He's also comforting his aunt, Ray Smith. She says she doesn't think her daughter, Summer, survived.
I'm waiting for someone to tell me they found my daughter.
And she says she'll keep waiting. Terry Okita for CBS News, Darrington, Washington.
Well, we're talking about a day today that pretty much featured what we expected yesterday for today.
This is Storm Tracker weather, powered by AccuWeather.
Well, some of you have seen a lot of unique sunrises within the past couple of days when the sun has been out. The beauty of it really can take your breath away, especially considering where you are in the Twin Tiers. One of our Unews users got a great shot of the sun peeking up behind the trees in McDonough. She says it looks like it's almost reaching up toward heaven, like that shot.
And you can send us your videos videos and pictures using Unews at our website, WBNG.com. We may use them on Action News.
And coming up next on the broadcast, a quick break, and then right back with your Live Lotto. And here's a look ahead to your Action News on your Wednesday. You'll find out how the Sacred Heart Ukrainian Catholic Church is continuing to celebrate the Lenten season. And you'll hear what tips the State Education Department has for the upcoming assessments. Plus, we'll have meteorologist, Chief Meteorologist Howard Manges. That's who it is. He actually returns tomorrow. We're playing a little bit of meteorologist musical chairs here. He'll be back tomorrow with your full forecast. Well, many people have slept on a train, of course, maybe a bus, something like that. But what happens when you actually fall asleep and you're at the end of the line? with no conductor and no way to get out. That's what happened to Jessica Method recently. She decided to take the Caltrain back home after a night out with friends. Method usually gets off at the last stop of the line. Now on the train, she got a little sleepy and took a nap. When she woke up, she realized that she was by herself and the doors were locked and not working.
I broke the glass of the emergency stop functions and a fire extinguisher, hoping to sound some kind of alarm. No alarm sounded.
Man, Method was able to get help by using the radio from the conductor's car. Really smart there. She eventually got a ride back home from Caltrain. Now, the company, their workers apologized, but Jessica wants to make sure that Caltrain is checking the cars a little bit more thoroughly next time. A 12-year-old won a contest for the best shoes. Now, not the best looking, but the most rotten. Kids between the ages of 5 and 14 years old all came out for the National Rotten Sneaker Contest in Times Square. Most of the kids have worn the same sneakers for the past 2 years or more. In fact, Jordan Armstrong, who won that competition, did a lot of activities to make her sneakers the smelliest.
I really wanted to win, so I had been preparing my sneakers, wearing the same socks to make my socks stinky, and then when I put my socks into my shoes, that would make my shoes stinky, and I've been preparing for this contest for a very long time.
Seriously, that's gross. Now, this competition began 39 years ago to serve as a promotion for a sporting goods store that wanted to advertise a new line of athletic shoes. Here's a look at what you can expect in tomorrow's Press and Sun Bulletin. Marine Corps representatives say the presidential helicopter contract, in which Lockheed Martin has a major stake, will be awarded in the next few weeks. Also, last year, 170 campaign contributions donated $50,000 or more to New York candidates, representing half of all the money that was given to their campaigns. Plus, the state's gaming sitting board selected a Cincinnati-based law firm to provide analysis of the gambling industry. Also, don't forget to look for Brian's Storm Tracker weather forecast in the press as well. And now with a check on sports, here's Mike.
Thanks, Dave. Coming up next in sports, we'll take a look at who's back in goal for the B-Sens. Plus, this summer, Joe Torre will be the next great Yankee to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame. Hear why it's that hat that's so important to him next.
This is Action Sports.
Thanks for joining us for Action News at 11. Don't forget about that website, WBNG.com.
Letterman's up next. His guest tonight, Emma Watson, Nick Offerman, and the Stripes.
See you in a couple hours, buddy. Get some sleep.
Early.
Have a great night.
Hundreds show their respect to fallen police officer David Smith, who died in the line of duty. And more bodies are being recovered in the Washington mudslide. Stay tuned. Action News starts right after Mega Millions. An 18-year-old was arrested in the town of Norwich for having crack cocaine and more than $2,000 in cash. Chenango County Sheriff's Office has arrested Noel Budram from the Bronx. Sheriff's deputies, along with Norwich police, executed a no-knock search warrant at the Norwich Inn Motel. The warrant stemmed from a lengthy investigation into the sale of crack cocaine in Norwich and its surrounding areas. Budram was charged with possession of a controlled substance. He was taken to Chenango County Jail and is scheduled to reappear in the town of Norwich court at a later date. A Pennsylvania woman has died after hitting a deer and crashing into another vehicle early this morning. Pennsylvania State Police in Tioga County say 29-year-old Sue-Ann Jane Chilson of Knoxville was killed on impact. Troopers say Chilson was driving south on Route 287 in Middlebury Township just before 5:20 this morning when she crossed into the northbound lane after swerving and hitting a deer. Chilson crashed into 31-year-old Travis Mead of Gaines, Pennsylvania. Meads was not injured. An apartment is destroyed in a fire this morning in the town of Union. It happened just after 9 this morning at Bourne Hill Apartments in West Corners. There are 30 units in the building. Apartment 27 was the one that caught on fire.
The apartment is a total loss. They're going to have to do a rebuild, and there's potential damage, water damage to the other apartments around it also.
The fire was contained to the attic and front porch of that unit. The entire building was evacuated and no one was injured. Broome County fire investigators have not released the cause of the fire. Hundreds of people, family members, co-workers, and friends gathered to celebrate the life of Johnson City Police Officer David Smith. Smith was killed yesterday in the line of duty. Our Jillian Marshall has more on how these people lit up the night for fallen Officer Smith.
Yesterday's events shook us to our very core and left a void that cannot be filled.
As the sun set in Johnson City, the heavy hearts of many fell in the village for fallen patrol officer David Smith.
He's a true loss to this community, a true loss to law enforcement. He's going to be missed.
More than 500 people huddled around candles in front of the Johnson City Police Department for a vigil for the 18-year veteran. Before and after the vigil, community members, family members, and co-workers laid flowers and candles next to the memorial in front of Johnson City Police Department. JCPD stood tall and together while remembering their brother. Lieutenant Michael Hatch spoke for the department in mourning.
The last 36 hours have been some of the hardest that we have ever faced as a family.
Many in the crowd didn't know Officer Smith personally, but a handful had the chance to call him a friend.
Dave was, he was a jokester, always had a smile on his face, always had a good sense of humor.
That humor is something Smith was known for, and his personality caught onto many strands of local law enforcement.
Never had any bad word to say about anybody. Hard worker, hard charger, a great spirit.
The flames danced in the warm wind, and for those who knew Smith, also known as DW, one thing about him will stay with them forever.
Take DW's smile home with you. He smiles when you enter a room, take it with you.
Lighting up the night for a smile that lit up a department and community. In Johnson City, Jillian Marshall, WBNG TV, Action News.
The vigil tonight was the first of many events for Officer Smith. Calling hours are from 4 to 7 p.m. on Thursday at William R. Chase & Son Funeral Home. That's at 737 Shenango Street in Port Dickinson. The funeral will be held at 11 a.m. on Friday at Sarah Jane Johnson Memorial Church. That's at 308 Main Street in Johnson City. Zukoski says that street closures are expected and a burial will be limited to family and local law enforcement at the Shenango Valley Cemetery. Those traveling to Wilson Hospital should prepare for alternate routes if traveling on Main or Baldwin Streets. Governor Andrew Cuomo is calling the recently passed state budget a grand slam. Cuomo signed the budget today after both state houses approved it late last night. It's the fourth consecutive budget passed on time. This year's $140 billion budget holds spending growth below 2%. The spending plan increases education funding across the state by $1.1 billion for next school year. That's a 5.3% increase, and nearly 70% of that money will go to the high-need schools.
And 5.3% in this economy, in this environment, is a massive, massive investment. Some people say it's never enough, but maybe it is never enough. But 5.3% by any realistic scale is a great investment.
Assembly and state members joined Governor Cuomo as he signed the budget into legislation this morning. They talked about how difficult it is for all to agree on many of the details included in the budget and commended the efforts that were passed into passing another budget on time.
And they hit that high later in the afternoon, almost into the early evening. At this point, we're dropping a little bit. We're at 48 right now at the airport. We still have a bit of a southerly wind. This helps our temperature stay mild tonight, but rain in the forecast. I'll tell you when at 11:15.
Still to come on Action News at 11, hear what General Motors CEO Mary Barra says about the defective and dangerous ignition switches that led to fatalities. Plus,
you know the great thing about doing art is you don't think.
Find out how a woman can overcome domestic abuse with a different way of painting. More when Action News at 11 returns.